Longevity weight loss company Noom now enters into the long-term healthcare space with the launch of a, quote, microdose weight loss drug program.
Here's the thing nobody tells you about Noom. It wasn't a diet. It was never a diet. The people who built it will tell you that themselves proudly in every pitch deck, every press release, every celebrity interview from 2018 to 2021. Noom is psychology. Noom is behavioral science. Noom is the last weight loss program you will ever need. And millions of people believed them, not because they were stupid, not because they were weak, but because Noom had studied them, studied the particular texture of their desperation, the specific shape of every failed attempt that came before, and had built something that spoke directly into that wound. This video is not about whether the diet worked. This video is about what Noom was actually designed to do. And when you see it, when you see the specific decisions, the specific engineering, the specific choices that the people at the top of that company made, you are going to feel two things at once. You're going to feel vindicated, and you're going to feel furious. Because it happened to you. Or it happened to someone you love. Let's go back to the beginning. The year is 2016. You open your phone and you see an ad. It doesn't look like a diet ad. There's no before and after. No dramatic weight loss number printed in red. No grinning woman holding up her old jeans at arm's length. What you hear instead is a language you have never heard from a weight loss company before. Words like cognitive behavioral therapy. Words like neuroplasticity. Words like sustainable habit formation. Noom, the ad tells you, is different. Noom understands that every diet you've ever tried has failed not because of your willpower, but because diets, by design, don't address the psychological root of why you eat. But Noom has cracked that code. Noom has real coaches, humans, trained professionals assigned specifically to you, who will guide you through a program built on the same science used by clinical psychologists. And here's the thing, it sounds completely plausible, because you have tried other things. You have counted the calories and tracked the macros and bought the meal replacement shakes and downloaded the apps that told you that you were failing every single day in cheerful little push notifications. At this point, you know from experience that discipline alone doesn't fix it. You know there is something upstream of the behavior. You have always known that. And now here is a company that seems to know it too. Noom was founded in 2008 by two men, Saiju Jong and Artem Petakov, in New York City. Their original pitch was not even about weight loss. They were building a general mobile health platform. But as smartphones exploded and the weight loss industry ballooned into a multi-billion-dollar market in the 2000s, Noom found its niche. By the mid-2000s, they had sharpened the product and sharpened the message. Psychology first, science-backed, human-coached. And then came the celebrity engine. Oprah Winfrey, Rebel Wilson, Katie Couric. These celebrities effectively attached their credibility to Noom. The customer saw them not as celebrities, but as people who had spoken publicly about their own struggles with weight, who were not just paid spokespeople, but who seemed to genuinely believe in the product. Then the clinical language reinforced it. Noom didn't call your food bad. Instead, it color-coded it. Green, yellow, orange. Not a moral judgment, they said. Just a density guide. A nudge, the kind of gentle framing that real behavioral economists use. The kind of language that felt, to anyone who had been shamed by every other diet program, into feeling like a failure, like a kindness. By 2021, Noom had 45 million registered users. Its valuation had reached $3.7 billion. It was one of the most downloaded health apps in the world. It had built something that people didn't just use but fully believed in. They recommended it to their mothers and their best friends. They posted about it online. To them, it was hope. Now hold on to that, because that hope is exactly what Noom needed in order for what came next to work. Let's talk about how you actually cancel Noom. Here's how it goes, step by step, because this is the part that Noom does not want you to walk through slowly. You decide you want to stop. Maybe the app isn't working for you. Maybe life happened. Maybe you just don't want to pay anymore. So you open the app and you look for a cancel button. There isn't one on the home screen. You go to settings. There are a lot of settings. You navigate through them. You find a section called Account. You go deeper. You find billing information. There's no cancel option there either. You keep going. By the time you reach the page that actually allows you to begin the cancellation process, you have made, depending on which version of the app you were using, 11 clicks. 11 deliberate navigational choices, each one designed by a UX team, each one a moment where a certain percentage of people give up and close the app and keep paying. Now let's be clear, this is not an accident. This is by design. But the cancellation flow is only part of it. Here is the piece that generated the most FTC complaints. Here's the piece that, when you hear it, makes the psychology angle land very differently. Noom offered a free trial. 14 days, no obligation. You just needed to enter your credit card details. What was not made clear, what was buried in the fine print that no one reads, is that if you did not cancel before those 14 days ended, you were not charged for a month. You were charged for a year. The full annual subscription, taken in a single lump sum the moment the trial expired. No warning email, no reminder notification, no your trial ends tomorrow message in your inbox. Just a charge, sometimes hundreds of dollars, gone. The FTC received thousands of complaints about this. Thousands of people who had forgotten they signed up, or who had meant to cancel and hadn't found the button in time, or who had signed up, decided the app wasn't for them within the first week, and assumed that if they stopped using it, the trial would just lapse. They discovered otherwise when they checked their bank statements. And when they called customer service? Here is what the customer service team was trained to do: not to process cancellations, to offer discounts, to propose pauses, to present alternatives, anything to keep the subscription alive. The internal goal was not customer satisfaction, it was retention, and the training reflected that. A class action lawsuit was filed. And in 2023, Noom settled it for $62 million. $62 million. Paid by a company that built its entire identity on the idea that it understood vulnerable people better than they understood themselves, and chose to use that understanding to make it as difficult as possible for those people to stop giving it money. The FTC complaint was formal. It stated that Noom's trial and cancellation practices were deceptive, that consumers were being charged without adequate notice, that the process of canceling was deliberately obstructive. Noom, in the way of corporations settling class actions, did not admit wrongdoing. They paid $62 million and moved on. But here is what that settlement receipt actually says. It says that a company which told you that it was different, that it understood the psychology of failure, that it was on your side, had built with intention a system designed to extract money from you whether you were using the product or not. Noom built a trap, and it built it for someone exactly like you. In 2021, at the peak, Noom looked like a story about the future of healthcare. A tech company that had figured out what big pharma and the diet industry never could. They discovered how to change behavior and not just bodies. Then they began raising money, hiring and expanding into new health verticals like diabetes prevention, hypertension management. The pitch was that Noom was not a weight loss app, but a chronic disease prevention platform. The valuation reflected the ambition. And then the tide went out. By 2022, there was a broader tech pullback hit. Growth at all costs companies that had coasted on cheap capital suddenly found investors asking a different question. It moved from how fast are you growing to how do you make money? Noom's answer was complicated. While its subscriber numbers were large, its churn was high. People signed up, got charged, and for reasons we now understand more clearly, left. The coaching model was also expensive. Real human coaches assigned to real users at scale wouldn't work economically without either charging a lot or cutting corners. So Noom cut corners. In 2023, Noom laid off a significant portion of its workforce. The human coaches who were the central promise of the entire product, the reason people chose Noom over every other calorie counting app, were let go. And in their place, artificial intelligence. An AI coaching system that Noom began rolling out to users who had paid specifically for human guidance. Think about that for a moment. The company's founding argument was that weight loss fails because apps don't understand human psychology the way humans do. You need a real person who knows you, who can read the emotional texture of what you're going through, who can meet you where you are. That was the product. That was the premium. And then, to cut costs, Noom replaced that product with the thing it had positioned itself against: an algorithm, a bot, a system that processes your responses and generates replies. While it kept the pricing and language, it quietly removed the humans. This is the single clearest act of consumer betrayal in the entire story. Not the cancellation flow, as cynical as that was. Not the lump sum trial charge, as deceptive as that was. Those could, with enormous generosity, be attributed to aggressive business practices. But this, building a premium product on the explicit promise of human connection, charging premium prices for that human connection, and then replacing it with AI while telling no one, is something more calculated and sinister. As of now, Noom still exists. The app still runs. The subscriptions still renew. The color-coded food guide still sorts your meals into green and yellow and red. Somewhere, a user who signed up last month is having their questions answered by a system that Noom has dressed in the language of human coaching. They don't know. There's no disclosure that makes it obvious. There's no banner that says, the thing you paid for is no longer the thing you're getting. Now, there's a question worth sitting with at the end of all this. Not, did Noom work? People will argue that forever, since some lost weight while some didn't. That's not what this is about. The question is this: when a company builds a product specifically for people at their most vulnerable, what is owed to those people? Noom knew who its customer was. It said so out loud in its own marketing. We understand you. We understand why you failed before. We are built for you. And then it engineered a subscription trap for exactly that person, just to take advantage of their vulnerability. If you enjoyed this and would like more deep dives like this, subscribe today and share with a friend or two. See you in the next one.